So nobody's really denying right now that Wano Kuni is going to be the next arc and that we are going to have Kaido and the Shogun as our main antagonists, and as the protagonists we're going to have Luffy, his alliance, and pretty much all of his followers. And what's interesting is that there is one faction that hasn't really been considered about Wano that much, and that is the rebellion forces. So Kinemon basically described the rebels as a very weak force in Wano right now. They don't have a chance against Kaido or the Shogun at all. And this is of course where Luffy, his alliance, and all the people who are helping him will come into play and hopefully boost the rebel forces. But I really feel as if the rebellion is being very underplayed. We know that the samurai of Wano are some of the strongest warriors on the planet. They are so fearsome that even the navy doesn't try to attack Wano at all. Right now the entire country is being oppressed apparently, so it's hard to say if the samurai are on the Shogun's side completely or if we have some forces that will try to help the rebellion. Zoro pretty much already stated that he would end up gathering all of the samurai under him to help them fight Kaido and the Shogun. So I imagine a lot of the samurai will end up allying with Luffy in the future. When I was looking for certain points and past foreshadows of what could end up happening within Wano, I actually found something very interesting in this cover page, and I found this strange mole. Now you can clearly see that he is wearing a Wano Kuni helmet, and this could just be representative of real life Japan, but it clearly links to Wano Kuni, which has the symbol of the rising sun on it. Now this mole specialized in digging tunnels very quickly actually, so it made me think that this mole could have had the role of evacuating the rebellion forces within Wano Kuni. Wano Kuni's borders are closed off, so it's very hard for them to evacuate, especially if they're being oppressed or imprisoned by the Shogun. Now it may seem like a long shot, or it may seem very far-fetched to say that, but we have seen in the past that cover pages can have very, very important links to future arcs, and if you've seen any theorists really, you know that they use cover pages a lot to back up their claims about certain arcs or what may happen. And in the past, cover pages have actually told us about how certain characters will return to the series, sometimes unimportant characters, sometimes very important characters. We saw Jinbei and his side story on the cover pages tell about how he would end up returning to the storyline. So if this mole is going around digging and maybe even trying to find Wano Kuni once again, it's very possible that we may see him in the future, maybe on Wano Kuni. And if he's going around, meeting all these new people, it's possible that he could actually end up on Wano Kuni during the Wano Kuni arc, bringing back a lot of old characters. During this journey, he met Gadatsu and some of the Alabastan royals, and he actually linked the Alabastan royals to a hot spring somewhere else, which shows that he can actually build these tunnels very, very fast. This was only over the course of like a couple cover pages, and would have logically happened during the storyline in like a couple days maybe. Now, once again, to give you an example of how important these cover pages are, in the past we had a cover page story about Crocodile and his crew, basically their journeys and how it eventually led up to them being in Impel Down, and then eventually it had a role in telling us about Crocodile's role in the Impel Down escape arc. Now, during his adventure, the mole met Gadatsu, who was one of Enel's priests. It also met some Alabastan royals, so it's not too far-fetched to say that maybe during the journey of this mole, it could have met a lot of travelers, maybe some old enemies of Luffy or some old friends. And in the end, we could end up seeing him bringing those people to Wano Kuni to help Luffy and his alliance out. And since the Wano Kuni borders are closed, people can't get in normally, so underground railroads and such would be normally built, and that could have been the role of this mole, and it could have even been sent out to bring back help or people to help out the rebellion forces. And there are just so many interesting people who could be brought into the Wano Kuni arc to help Luffy and the alliance. We know Moria may have a role in the Wano Kuni arc because he had a grudge against Kaido. We know Enel could potentially come back because we had a cover page about him gathering an army on the moon. And I just can't help but think that this mole could end up helping bring a lot of people back from past arcs to Wano Kuni because of his Wano Kuni helmet. And it would be really interesting to have the rebel forces get boosted by a lot of Luffy's past enemies. It could be like an Impel Down arc version 2. The rebel forces were described as a puddle in comparison to Kaido and the Shogun's forces, so it would make sense if this mole was sent outside to bring out outside forces into Wano because the borders are closed once again. And once again, Luffy's going to need a lot of allies, a lot of help from the rebel forces against Kaido and the Shogun. So I thought I would just share this with you guys. It's a very interesting idea, and once again, cover pages could mean so much about the story they have in the past, and seeing as though this was a pretty long cover page, it could have a very important role in the future to connecting the old characters to what's happening right now in Wano Kuni. It would just be an interesting thing to see, and there is some level of evidence to back the claims up. So what are your thoughts on the matter? Write that down in the comment section down below, and I will see you all later.